What's up, you filthy flapjacks? It's the Ear Coffee Podcast. In today's episode of the Ear Coffee Podcast, I sat down with Caleb Hinz of Normal Parents, The Happy Children, and many other projects. We talked about his new album, Same Diff, his production work with other local artists, and what he's excited about in the future. Without further ado, here is my interview with Caleb Hinz on the latest installment of the Ear Coffee Podcast. Welcome to the Ear Coffee Podcast. Today, I am joined by Caleb Hinz of Normal Parents, The Happy Children, and many other projects. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Very excited to be here. Usually with interviews, I start with kind of the backstory of the band, but that's usually because a lot of these bands haven't done interviews before, but you and Mitchell have done a few before.
Yeah.
And so I was able to read about how you guys were together at in Evergreen and in Olympia. And instead of rehashing that, unless you have anything else you particularly want to share about it, we could kind of
yeah, I mean,
move.
A lot of that stuff's been said, and a lot of that also just feels really long ago now.
Yeah, probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, a lot has changed in the way that this stuff has gone down.
Yeah. The one question I did have about that is, do you ever regret dropping out of Evergreen, regardless of what you were studying there, just to come in?
No, not at all.
Never? Okay.
Probably one of the better decisions I made.
Yeah. Yeah, what were you studying, just kind of out of curiosity?
I mean, at that school, you don't necessarily have a major.
Okay.
But you take these programs that are a quarter long.
Okay.
And most of it revolved around, music and business.
Music. Is that kind of where you got your start with producing, learning the more
actually
that side
no
of things?
I started doing that when I was I think I was 13 or 14. I started making my own songs and started recording them. And that was really when I got my start in production and stuff, and making tracks that you can listen to.
Now we're just gonna kind of jump right to pretty much where most of the questions will come from. After you guys put out Self-Help Book last year, how did you get connected with Sam from Remo?
Oh, yeah.
Was that before or after he had officially left the band and joined you guys? Was there kind of is that why he left?
No, well,
I mean, I know there was some weird
there's a
stuff,
lot of internal
which we don't need to
stuff,
get into.
Yeah, but it was basically, we put out Self-Help Book, and then me and Mitchell were still kind of not satisfied with the way things were, I mean, when we had Judah in the band, we were going on a real strong trajectory. We were every single week something new was happening that was crazy. And then all the shit went down with Judah, and then we just couldn't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
And then when we got John in, we really worked to try and bring it back to what it was, and we never really could. And then so with Sam, we had actually parted ways with John before we met Sam.
Okay.
And we were planning on we just wanted to redo it, the two of us, to a certain degree, and I really wanted to explore more with production with the Happy Children.
Yeah.
And then Jake from Hippocampus, who's one of my best friends, he hit me up and he was like, "Yo, dude, Sam needs a band." And we were like, "What? Isn't he? Yeah. Isn't he in?"
Didn't they just put an album?
Yeah. Didn't you just go on tour with him? And so we were like, all right, let's give that a shot. Sam has such a aggressive, fast style, which is what we thought that we were still trying to capture. And so Sam learned a bunch of songs, and we got together, and he was hilarious and crazy.
Yeah. Did he join mainly as a touring member? Because you guys went on the tour with Why Not last summer.
That was
and I know
fun.
you mentioned that you did most of the playing on Same Diff.
Yeah.
So did he play on that? What has his role been in the band since joining?
I mean, he joined as a member.
As a full member.
But we went on that tour, and I feel for a long time we haven't had very clear goals, for a little while. So everything was wishy-washy. There was no, and that's kind of when I started to branch out and do all this other things too, because my energy doesn't really turn off. So I was just expanding where I was throwing my hands.
Mm-hmm.
But Sam came in as a member, and he's all over Same Diff. You know, he plays drums on
Yeah.
all the songs with live drums.
Okay,
and
that is him. Okay.
yeah, that's Sam. And Sam was also he was with me on some of the final stages, just like adding random weird stuff. There's like a skate wheel noise that we added in Dennis the Menace. I mean, I love Sam a lot, and I've actually been producing his new band called Cosmic Bingo.
Okay.
So we've been hanging out a lot still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has not Judah, Mitchell's role been then? Like kind of the same thing where because he was credited with like actual like songwriting, at least according to Spotify, I think like 3 of the songs.
Yeah.
So is he just a little bit more involved in like the kind of stems, like the base of songs?
It was
in addition to like performing and working on stuff through the process.
Yeah, I think Mitchell stepped back a little bit on this one, just for reasons of his own. But we wrote. The process of Same Diff was kind of long. You know, we wrote Switch It Up, and Mitchell like wrote the Switch It Up, lean back, need that, and he wrote all his bass for that, and we wrote When I'm Rich kind of together. But there was a lot of distance with like everybody's role in that process too, because there was kind of a point where I was like, all right, I actually want to make this album, and I don't want to just like keep meandering into like an unknown direction. So I kind of took it and like went off into a corner and just like turned it into the thing. But I mean, Mitchell obviously plays bass on every song except for playing Autumn Leaves and CEO, I think. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely still a band effort.
Okay.
I don't want to make it seem like did literally
I wasn't sure
everything.
it was like a Tame Impala thing where like you
No.
did everything yourself and then have like your band that's like part of the band, but like pretty much just like added like stuff on the end. But no, it's very much more collaborative than I guess at least I initially thought.
Yeah, it was collaborative.
Yeah. Clearly, you have a really good relationship with the guys from Hippocampus. Worked with them, I think, on almost all of your releases to some degree. Did working with Jake and Nathan on Baby Boys, did that influence you to kind of on how you were what direction you're gonna take Same Diff in, and maybe even like incentivize you to actually get it done, kind of like what you're talking about there?
Kinda. I mean, that whole Baby Boys thing came out of nowhere, and honestly, kind of changed my life.
Yeah,
because it happened so spontaneously, and we made the entire thing so fast, and then just like looking back at it and being like, oh my god, what just happened?
Yeah,
we just like exploded together and then did this thing. And I think, I mean, it totally, I don't know if it influenced like the sound of Same Diff, but it got me excited for the possibilities of what Same Diff could be after sort of the release of the Baby Boys thing, like being on Grand Jury and having like the exposure of that.
Yeah.
And I knew that like following it up with Same Diff would be like, it would feel good.
Yeah, because that was the first time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that you worked with a label or with an outside producer.
Yeah.
Because you were, how involved was BJ Burton?
Oh, he didn't do nothing.
Nothing.
Well,
like did he just like mix it at the end, kind of?
Well, I mixed it and then I brought it to his house, and then we just like, I stemmed it out and we ran it through all of his like super expensive stuff. So all of his gear kind of warmed it out, and there's like a snare and Kinky Toe that he like really made a lot better. Like it was very final stages, but I mean the first sessions we did were at his studio, and that was kind of fun too. Just, I mean, meeting him has also been like really awesome.
Yeah, he's such a big name in like the Midwest and in production.
Dude, he's like one of the best producers in the entire world.
Yeah, did you love Lowe's recent album?
Oh my god. It's one of my favorite things that's ever been made.
Seriously?
That's so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I think that Double Negative is so groundbreaking. I've never heard anything like that. And when I heard it at first, I mean, yeah, that record is mind-blowing, dude.
Even like compared to like their previous stuff.
Oh, God.
Like, because I've only really heard Ones and Sixes and Double Negative. And Ones and Sixes is just like pretty classic slowcore for them.
And those are both BJ records.
Seriously, yeah. And then just such an explosion of just experimentation.
Yeah.
We could probably talk about
that's
Love
a whole
for
nother conversation.
Yeah. How did you overall handle like the songwriting and composition process for Same Diff? Was it like you would have like a riff or something and then you'd start like piling things on top of that, or would you come up with like vocal melodies first? Like what's kind of was your process for a lot of these songs? And because I already know you kind of touched on how Sam and Mitch contributed.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit different for each one, but I think there's kind of maybe a couple different processes. There was one where it obviously started off with like guitar and then finding like a little riff and then singing on top of it. And then you track that, maybe with gibberish vocals, and then you like have to write lyrics to that.
Yeah.
Writing lyrics is usually like a thing that I do kind of
last minute
after the fact. Not necessarily last minute, but just like it's not the first thing ever. I don't like start with lyrics ever. I wish I did sometimes.
Yeah.
I applaud people who are like super lyric driven. But then there was like the process of like switch it up where it's like kind of a song that I wrote before we even tracked it at all. And then me and Mitchell played it together and then we tracked it together, just guitar and bass. And then I added drums. And then we actually tracked a lot of the drums last, which is usually not how you're supposed to do it, but like starting with programmed drums and then tracking live drums on top of that.
Oh, okay.
And Sam's like pretty good at that, and he's also just like a perfectionist, so he wanted to play it like so many times until he got it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, switch it up. Actually, we had basically finished it, and then the whole session got deleted, so we had to rebuild the entire song.
Did you think it got better? Or
I think it was actually a blessing.
Yeah. Just in the moment, it's like tragic and sucks so much, but
yeah, it was just like another layer of weight on my shoulders that I felt like I had to like, all right, well, I got to finish this and rebuild that entire song. All right.
Yeah. With lyrics, where do you come up with those? Is it like, because do you just kind of find words that obviously like form something coherent to like the melodies you've come up with, or you at least have somewhat of a topic lyrically for each song? Because obviously that seems to be the case, even if there's no like overarching like theme or anything, like no deliberately profound like lyrical statements like poetry necessarily, unless or if there is, it's almost like unwitting. You're like, whoa, that's actually a really good line. Like, did they even realize that? It's just very feels very off the cuff.
Yeah, I like to make. I just generally like lyrics that are easy to digest, kind of, but maybe like they're so easy that behind that is like a really intense layer of profoundness sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Like the Growlers dude does that all the time, where he'll just like say something so flat, but then you like, whoa, actually, like that was kind of like philosophical in a weird way. But this album also, there was like so much. To me, it does feel kind of like a concept album sometimes, just that it's like there's this underlying tone of being in a band, not always what people think it is, and the romantic idea that you think it is when you're growing up and like as a kid learning how to play guitar and wanting to be a rock star.
Yeah, there's definitely like some of those like self-aware lyrics where it's like
and
seems a little too real.
and a lot of it too is, I mean, in CEO it talks just I'd getting older and I don't necessarily want to be the same happy children that we were before, and it was great while it was, and we all had a very beautiful time, but it is not the only thing, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think being an artist or being a rock star or being a band is by any means the only thing that people should have in their lives.
What do you, or I'm just going to jump ahead, I guess. What do you want to do instead of that? Do you want to start like a new band? Do you want to like start a studio and focus more on production? Do something completely different?
I mean, I just right now I'm producing a lot for other people.
Yeah,
and
we've noticed.
I enjoy that. Yeah, I mean it's a super fun thing, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of decisions that you can't just like make because you have to run them by the person that's going to end up identifying with it.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something that I want to do. We're going to make a Baby Boys album in the fall.
Okay.
Which I'm stoked about. Yeah.
Oh.
We're driving down to Austin. We're packing a van with like a bunch of gear, and we're just going to go down to Austin and stay in this big house and for 2 weeks, just like
a writing camp. That's sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be a dream come true,
Uh-huh.
honestly. And hopefully, I think we might play some shows too. I don't want to make that too much of a thing,
proclamations.
But yeah, but I mean that's a thing. And just Normal Parents, like the whole Normal Parents umbrella.
Brand.
I'm just continuously feeding the Normal Parents.
Yeah, because you've had, I think, 4 groups that have like, or no, 3. I think that's like been connected with it because you've had Scary Mama, Baby Boys, and Happy Children.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all of them?
Yeah.
That have really okay. Yeah. Would you consider bringing Scary Mama back? Because that, at least
you like Scary Mama?
No. I did. I looked back like chronologically, and there's like your first EP, which is like that. And I feel like that and Self Help Book have pretty similar sonic palettes. And then Scary Mama, was that just you?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just such a crazy detour.
Yeah.
And I imagine like the people that either like didn't listen to Baby Boys or haven't heard Scary Mama would be caught off guard by some of the experiments on Same Diff.
Yeah.
Because Self Help Book and Small Talk are, at least to me, seem pretty guitar driven. Like they really, since I got into Why Not before you guys, it sounded like, oh, you guys sound like Why Not, but it might be the other way around. But like either way, they had very similar kind of like just ways like the guitars were like the riffs were structured and like just very similar sonic palettes. But would you consider doing Scary Mama again?
Yeah, I love Scary Mama.
Yeah.
I mean, Scary Mama is like also kind of like a joke in a weird way. It's like it's all the things that I want to do
ideas.
that don't. They're never gonna be anywhere else. Actually, playing Autumn Leaves was supposed to be a Scary Mama song.
Okay, that makes a little bit of sense. I don't remember what song it is. This is a bit of a side note, but it sounds. I think it's like the second or third to last song on the EP.
Playing Autumn Leaves.
It sounded like almost like a video game song. It was just like, I was just driving and I just like could not stop laughing because I was so caught off guard by it. It was just freaking incredible.
I know that song is
so funny.
Is wild.
Yeah.
I love Scary Mama.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the video of Bartholomew with the black balloon around his junk?
No.
The black swim cap.
It's
a Scary Mama music video.
Is it just on the Normal Parents YouTube?
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Okay.
And he's like in this red room with a black balloon wrapped around his junk and a black swim cap, and he's like dancing. And it's like super freaky.
I did not see that. I've only watched the video for Switch It Up before this.
Cool.
And I was like, oh, there's actually a lot more here. Check that out down the line. So I'll make sure to watch
it's
that
the
one.
hidden treasure chest.
Oh my gosh, that's weird. What would you say your favorite song on Same Diff is?
Recently I like Sued a lot.
Sued? Okay.
Yeah, I don't really listen to it anymore because I listened to it like a bazillion times while I was making it. But I just think Sued is like a happy, content song, and it is like just about having like a simple, happy life with people that you love. And that's I like that.
That's a dream, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say the hardest song to start was and the hardest song to finish was?
Oh, hardest song to start.
And that doesn't count like having to rework Switch It Up or anything.
I Switch It Up was pretty easy to start.
Yeah.
I think starting, honestly, Sued was hard just because I built that one just on an acoustic. It was like a folk song, sort of. I actually ended up replacing all the guitar with electric guitar, but that one was like the last one that I did, and it was the last piece of the album that I wanted to fit in there. And I wanted to like produce it somehow, but I didn't really know how, so I kind of like just recorded it as a folk song, and then like added the layers, and then like replaced a lot of stuff. It's sort of like Frank Ocean process, where it's like you just keep like eliminating and putting back, and then like after a while you don't even know what you have. Yeah, it's like this collage of stuff, even though it's still pretty coherent. But yeah, that one was kind of hard to start. This is sort of different, but Bubblegum, Mitchell recorded a version of that with Whistler like 2 years ago, back when him and Whistler lived together. They still live together, but and that one, it was like really fast, and it was like and it was like super like energetic and stuff.
Upbeat, yeah.
And so that one, there was sort of a push and pull with trying to honor the original version and also like make it fit with the rest of the song. So that was kind of a thing.
Was that the first song that was written that ended up on Same Diff? Do you?
Switch It Up was the first song.
Switch It Up.
Yeah, and Switch It Up and CEO, I think.
Yeah, when were those written? If
Those were
Bubblegum was like 2 years ago, was that about the same? Even earlier?
like actually Mitchell probably had that riff for Bubblegum. Yeah, probably the first. Yeah, but it wasn't a fleshed out song.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he was been like playing that bass riff for forever.
Yeah.
He's the bass riff treasure chest.
Yeah, that's just one of my favorite things that bands do. Like they have like a riff that maybe you see in their live set or something, and then like 2 years later, it ends up in a song, and
Oh, yeah.
maybe like the old heads remember it, and it's just like, oh, that's so sick. It's finally a song.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you? How would you say your musical influences changed? I guess even from album to album, but especially from the start with Small Talk to what I guess, which is your final statement to the world with Same Diff.
Well, I think at the beginning I was like
Is
really into
Dillinger
rock
Escape
bands
Plan?
and stuff.
I think
I mean,
saw that
yeah,
in an interview. And,
yeah, we loved. I mean, we were just way more aggressive back then, and we were
Yeah.
like intense and like we like drank more and stuff, and
Mhm.
like we're just way more trying to be crazy and have like an explosion happen. So
Mhm.
I think back then we were way more into bands and more like punk stuff. I liked Death Grips a lot back then, which is like I still like
Yeah.
their aesthetic, but like I can't really listen to their music sometimes just because it's like I like Tachyon. That song's badass. But and then now I mean I'm like super internally inspired now, not from myself, but like the people around me. Like I'm so inspired by watching what Jake is doing. He's like working on something right now, and
Outside of Hippocampus?
yeah, well,
Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah, don't
what it
don't feel
is.
pressure to say anything. Though, just, I'm just curious.
But whatever it is, it's gonna be amazing, and I've been helping him a lot with it, and it's just been like a really cool time. He's a huge inspiration to me. Also, just like being around BJ, going to his studio and seeing the stuff that he's working on, that is like the biggest inspiration ever. Is like seeing that that's a reality. Like these people who
a real person made these records that I love.
Yeah, like some of my favorite records that I've ever heard, and then being able to go into this room and like and see where it happened, and like talk to the person who made those decisions, talk to that intense crazy person who made those decisions.
Yeah, is he coming with you guys to Austin in the fall?
I don't think so. No, he's gonna be in LA. He's like taking some time there, I think.
Okay.
Probably working on something insanely huge that I don't even know about.
Yeah, then we'll find out about in a couple years.
Yeah, and it'll be like, oh, okay, so you're like the top actually now.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
How would you rank Same Diff against all like any other project you've done? If you
like
feel
of my
capable
own.
Yeah, of like
things?
Baby Boys, other Happy Children, even Scary Mama, even if that's kind of like a fun side project type thing.
Yeah. I definitely put self-help book at the bottom.
Seriously?
Yeah, I hate that. But no, that's not true. I think it's fine. It doesn't resonate with me anymore. But I think Same Diff is my favorite. I mean, it's like the first real album that I've ever made. Like, I mean, it's still pretty short, but everything fits together, and like I mixed it all and like brought it through all the stages, and like was along for that entire ride, and no one, there was no outside help really to like make it happen. Like I didn't even have someone else master it, So that in that sense, it's like my favorite just because I feel the most connected to it. But also I think
that might be recency bias a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Why don't you like self-help book at all, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, I like it. I just think that it was the purpose of it was just for us to kind of like move on from those songs.
Just like kind of, okay, let's record them, put them out so we don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah, just so we don't have to, because we didn't want to like chase those anymore. And I mean, I like the title self-help book for
that's a good
music release. And it's sort of like felt like that, like just like a moving on process. But it wasn't that fulfilling. It's not like we never, there's not much of a world in self-help book, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a snapshot of a band playing the songs that they wrote, but there's not like a whole environment and with characters, and like, it's not that there's not a lot of depth to the sonic landscape,
Is the reason why other than that you dislike, relatively speaking, self-help book so much more than Small Talk? Because at least just from a listener perspective, those sound pretty similar, and like that's not a knock or anything. It's just they sound pretty similar.
Yeah, they have a
And
very
that
similar
just kind of
thing.
like it's our first release in the world, so it's like
Small Talk.
yeah,
Yeah,
and there's just some like affection for it because it was like your first thing.
yeah. I mean, I also Small Talk was a better period of time for the Happy Children.
Okay.
We're a lot more excited, and we're like,
Yeah.
it all made sense then.
That's right when you guys moved back.
That's right when we moved back, and we were like just trucking hard,
Mm-hmm.
and also Small Talk is like the production value is actually really bad. Almost we recorded that like with a couple mics, and I actually like mixed it on earbuds and stuff, so it's like super harsh.
Boy.
But I do think that Small Talk does have a little bit more of that depth in like the sonic world. There's a little bit more elements, and sometimes something will happen that catches you off guard.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really happen in self-help book. They're all S words. I keep
really.
I keep mixing them up in my own head.
Yeah. With Same Diff, was there ever any like conscious decision to make certain songs a little bit more experimental or a little weirder? When I was just re-listening to the album the last couple of days, one of the most like prominent kind of switches stood out to me was just When I'm Rich versus Belly Up, because When I'm Rich is a little bit more sonically conventional, I'll say, and then Belly Up is like this whacked out like super crazy song, and like that happens throughout the album where there's like you kind of like there's a little bit more. It's like, okay, this is a band, this is a band making a song, and it's like sick. But then the next one's like, this is like would not have expected it. Like, is this even the same band? Like when you decide which songs you're gonna kind of dive in a little bit more, at least on the experimental side, is that conscious, or is it like something you kind of know from the beginning of working on a song? Just talk about that a little bit more.
I mean, they could all turn out to sound just like a band playing them if you wanted them to. I think I just had a thirst and a hunger to make something that didn't sound like it was just a band.
It didn't even sound like the Happy Children.
Yeah, and just not worrying about like, oh, we have to do this because we're this band and this is how we identify as a thing. It could have, honestly, we probably could have put it out under a different name if we wanted to, and it would have been okay. But conceptually, it was really in line with like the story arc of the Happy Children. But I didn't go into Billy Up being like, oh, I don't want it to sound like a band. I just was like, my reactions and my instincts were not to like immediately throw crashes on them and stuff.
Yeah, it almost, when you listen to something that, like, when you kind of think of each individual element and then you think about them all together, it's like there's a bit of a, like, almost as a listener, just like a gap, like, how do they make that work? How do they take all these very disparate sounds and make them come together as a song? It almost feels like that, like where you're, like, whoever's made the song is just like trying things, just kind of throwing things at a wall and hoping what sticks. But in actuality, just from, I mean, talking to you now and just other interviews from countless artists, it's always really deliberate. Did you know that going in, where you're like, okay, I need to be very careful, very specific with the things I'm going to kind of branch out on a little bit more? And you didn't want to try too much to just be weird for the sake of being weird?
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like being weird for the sake of being weird is like, well, sometimes that's kind of fun. But
yeah. I mean, Scary Mo.
I think, yeah, Scary Mo is the best. But I think it's just experimentation too. I think just trying things, and
yeah,
I don't necessarily know if like any of the weird elements were premeditated and then being like, all right, how are we going to make that part be like this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Some of it's even like which songs have like vocal manipulation and which songs don't.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's, I think just in general, one of the first things that like someone who's listening will notice. It's like, oh, this song has some autotune, or this song has like some different vocal processing, or this song is just like pretty clean as far as vocals. Like,
I think that was just depended on what I was into in the year-long span of making it, because there was a period of time where I was just like auto-tune. Everybody who came to my studio and I was trying to make a song with them, auto-tune. Like I was obsessed with this. It's this free, I'm going to give away my secret. It's this free auto-tune plugin, Melda Productions auto-tune. And it's basically like a free copy. I'm pretty sure there's like ads on it. It's like trash. Wow. But it has a formant shifter and a width control. So you can, and the width control is like a pitch width. So it like spreads it stereo with pitch variations. And that thing is like just crazy. So I was really into that. But then towards the end of the process, I was like kind of burnt out on the autotune. So I was tuning it. I was tuning things with like Melodyne, which is more of a surgical tuning tool. So like that's what I did on Switch It Up and When I'm Rich, where it doesn't necessarily sound like as auto-tuney.
Yeah.
It's just more like, I mean, I still am like love tuning vocals. I think it sounds amazing.
Yeah. And I've noticed that in a lot of your like production work too, but we can get into that in a little bit. What production workspace, like what do you use when you're producing? Like what do you use, like what workspace do you use, or how do you?
Like a DAW or something?
Yeah. Do you use a DAW? Do you use, okay.
Yeah. Right now I'm kind of working with this like hybrid Ableton Pro Tools setup. So I do a lot in Ableton, but it all ends up in Pro Tools. Just because I think Pro Tools sounds the best, and I think it's like kind of the best audio editing tool, and it's the industry standard. So if you're trying to like be a producer, you kind of just like have to be proficient with Pro Tools
at the very least.
Yeah. But yeah, so I do a lot with Ableton. I have one of those Ableton push controllers, which is like amazing. It basically turns your whole computer into a piece of hardware. Okay. I love that thing. And then I use SM7 mic a lot, which is like the Joe Rogan mic, you know.
Nice.
That I do a lot of DI guitar, so not miking the amp, just going the guitar straight into the interface. That's kind of like my setup. And then I'll usually do drums at the Pearl recording studio in Northeast Minneapolis. They have a really good drum room there, and and I interned there for like a month. Oh, so I like know the dude there. A little bit, yeah. And so getting drums there, if you're trying to get like a big, like legit rock sounding drum kit, you can record drums at home and stuff.
That's a bit more precise. This may be a little bit of a niche question, but it seems like for Same Diff there was a more traditional album rollout where I think there were 4 singles, there was a music video. It just seemed like coming out in advance of the album. It seemed like just more like kind of the industry standard where there's like singles, videos, and then the album comes out. Whereas a lot of like underground bands just kind of like maybe put out one song and then drop the EP or drop the album and kind of work with stuff after that. Like Juniper Douglas has remixed one of their songs from their album that's over a year old or almost a year old.
That's
and
so cool.
Put it out as a single. Like that's really unconventional, but with Same Diff it seemed a bit more straightforward. Was that a conscious decision? Did that have anything to do with the fact that you knew it was the band's final album?
You know what it actually was?
What?
It was all Zeke Erickson's idea.
Seriously?
Yeah. I was going to just post the album with a link to SoundCloud. I wanted it to be, I was so over it. And like, so I was even going to not release it for a second.
Oh no.
And then Zeke basically talked me into doing like a single rollout. And he wanted me to potentially do them all as singles. Just like, but then Vampire Weekend was doing the same thing at the same time. So I was like, all right.
Like doing like the double singles for like a couple months.
Yeah. But yeah, I think all the props for that goes to Zeke.
Shout out Zeke.
And I think that people should do more of it because it was so worth it. It was so worth it, man, to put those out slowly and like feel it out. And like it, I think as an artist, it makes the whole release process just a little bit, you get to sit in it a little longer rather than just like having this, oh, I'm so glad it's done. And then like 3 days later, no one cares. You don't care anymore. You're working on the next thing. Yeah. You know, it really was a good way to release it. And I'm so glad we did it that way. It made everything feel really good and correct.
Would you consider doing any other videos for any of the other singles, or is it?
I've thought about it.
Thought about it.
Part of it is just that I'm like so
Oh.
far down the line,
Yeah.
like in working on what I'm excited to release, like in the winter now, you know. So part of it is that I'm like just kind of moved on from it.
Yeah.
But also making music videos is so much.
Just even watching the one for Switch It Up, it's just like you guys and a bunch of your friends just looking like you're just hanging out and turned in like kind of a fun little concept, and that just seems really like a fun experience.
Yeah.
Do stuff like that.
Yeah, but you got to have someone who is good at making videos. That's the key to making a good video. Someone's just got to be good at it.
Let's do a little detour to talk about production.
Cool.
What's it been like? How have you kind of built some of these connections with like Kate Milanofi, Cale Moore, who is that he messaged us out of the blue and was like, "Hey, I'm just releasing a song." Also, Caleb's produced it. It's like, "Oh, okay, this is a little bit more serious than we would have just kind of like." No offense to the song because it's a fantastic song, but just that was like a little bit of a clickbait name drop. We're like, and Caleb producer, like, "Oh shoot, gotta make sure to watch it out." And even Sapphire, which was interesting because you, at least according to their Bandcamp, you worked on the original version of "You Are," but then it's a different one on the EP.
It's pretty much the same.
It's like the ending's a little different. Is the one thing I noticed because I like re-listened like the last half of it a couple times. Like, what's different? And yeah, just Juniper, Atomic Cafe, and Why Not Even, or like a couple others, but I guess more specifically like Kate and Cale, because those two songs seem to have a little bit more of what I would almost call like your sonic footprint of like what I've heard from Baby Boys, what I've heard now from Same Diff. It's like I can connect the dots between those a little bit. Yeah. What how did you get connected with those two? And what was it like working with them?
Well, I tweeted like last summer or something. I was like, I want to work with more female singer-songwriters. Like, I'm sort of sick of working with just like dude bands and like dude energy in the room. And all these people sent me like demos of songs that they were writing. And I was actually like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that like I could do that.
Yeah.
And then Kate's, I was like, my wife Hannah was taking a bath, and I was like in the bathroom, and we were like listening to the ones, and I was like just kind of like watching her reaction, and like she's a huge part of my gauge of how I know something is good.
Okay.
Like I bounce stuff by her all the time.
Oh, that's great.
She hears my stuff like all the time.
Yeah.
But I started playing one of Kate's demos, and she was like, "Oh," like just because her voice like immediately touched her.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ah, shit." Yeah. So I reached out to Kate, and we've actually been trying to work on this EP for her for like a year.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find a good way to track piano. I tried bringing a mobile setup to Hamlin and like just renting out a little practice room, and and we tried getting piano that way, but it just didn't really work out. And then so now actually this weekend I think I'm going to finish up her EP, and then it's going to come out pretty soon.
Okay, yeah, no, we already have an interview scheduled with her. And
oh, really?
Yeah, she's going to send us the masters as soon as I guess you're done with them. So
oh, cool.
No pressure.
Yeah,
sick,
it's been at this point. It's like I feel like they're pretty done, but I think there's some more things that she just wants to know what it sounds like with.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to like just kind of give her a couple different options.
Yeah.
For certain songs, but I'm also like really just trying to make it based around her voice and her songs that she made, and not be like I don't want it to be and I don't want it to sound like the Caleb show. I want it to sound like the Kate show.
Kate show,
yeah.
And that's at least to fanboy a little bit. That's one of the things I love most about Glue, because there's obviously her voice is just the through line. It's it's very clearly the most important part of her solo stuff.
Yeah. Her voice is like the machine gun in that song. It's just like blasting you down in the head. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about Cale then?
Oh, Cale, I don't know. Cale just like reached out. A lot of stuff is just like people reaching out and sending me a thing, and then I'm like, oh, cool. I feel like I could like understand what we could do together with that. Because sometimes people will send stuff, and it's not that I don't like it. I just like don't really understand what my role could be.
Yeah,
like, I don't really know
what I could add to this.
Yeah, and I don't really feel like in line with the whole energy of it. And with Kale's song, I was just like, all right, this like sounds I totally know what we could do, and we
Yeah.
we ended up making that like so fast, and it was
Yeah.
just like kind of a fun thing. And then we went outside and like just hung out for a second. Then he left, and then I don't know. It was
Yeah,
just really
he's-
fun and easy. I would like to do more songs with him.
Yeah.
It was
I
kind of a
haven't
fun.
seen anything. At least we haven't seen anything like announced or whatnot.
No, he's pretty chill about it. I mean, I don't even think he was intending for that song to do much. He was just like, oh, I kind of want to do
Yeah.
this. I really like the video. Did you see the video?
Yeah, no, the
Yeah.
video was really fun, really sick.
Yeah. I think
Trippy.
Keegan.
Ian Buckhart did
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that video a lot.
hmm
Hmm.
How would you decide when to come up with a new name? Like, when you're producing, you kind of want to keep it under your own name? From my understanding, just like is Caleb produced this, not like the Happy Children produced this or Normal Parents produced this.
I guess I'm kind of going for a Caleb from Normal Parents, just because I
Caleb
want
from
to.
Normal
I feel like Normal Parents is way more catchier, and it actually kind of like. It's like a better moniker.
Yeah.
I mean, with legit credits on things like
Mhm.
on Spotify, it'll probably end up being Caleb Hinz, just because that's my legal name.
Well, yeah.
But there's me and Jake are going to be working with a band in a couple weeks in Kansas City.
Okay.
We're producing a band there, and I did run it past their label. I was like, "Can I have my credits be Caleb from Normal Parents?"
Uh-huh.
And so we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
How do you, given that, like how that is, how do you decide when to come up with a new project name? And since it sounds like you want to keep everything anchored by
Yeah.
Normal Parents,
You mean like just with Baby Boys and
Well,
Scare
yeah,
Mom
just
and
like-
stuff? Yeah.
would you, like, if you were to put out like another kind of solo-ish release, would it
It'd be
be under
called
Scare
Daddy's
Mom?
Girl.
Yeah.
I want to do Daddy's Girl.
Yeah, would it be under like you want to like keep it different with like the names?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm always hesitant to put something out just under Normal Parents
Yeah.
because then I feel like it kind of locks Normal Parents into one thing.
Mhm.
So it's like every name is sort of like a different way
Of
to add a
Normal Parents.
character of
Okay.
of Normal Parents and like that family of things.
Yeah.
But I have really been wanting to do Daddy's Girl, and
Mhm.
that's only though if I ever start rapping, which I don't think will probably happen. But if I become a rapper, I
I
want to be
hope
Daddy's
to see that
Girl.
that come to the light of day.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna bring it back to Happy Children and kind of wrap it up with
Cool.
that. So was your main decision to end the band now was just the time felt right? Didn't really feel like there was much more you guys could say with the band, or was it? What was it?
I think some of it I think is just like growing out of the life place that we were in
Mm-hmm.
when we were really like at our prime. And I think just a lot of internal relationships within the band and just a lot of our spark and our original goal wasn't really there anymore.
Okay.
And also I just didn't really want to play at 7th Street all the time and like
Mhm.
load in and go home at 2 a.m. and smoke a bunch of cigarettes and like kind of just like feel like poop
Yeah.
and like I just like the rock life. It
Mhm.
kind of wasn't. I didn't want to get locked into going on tour and stuff, and I just think that it was you know how Batman says you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Yeah. Is that?
That it's like that.
Okay. Yeah. On the note of you didn't really feel like there was much more you could do with Happy Children. Is that because you think that with that name, with the group that you had, is you accomplished what you set out to do, maybe even unknowingly, or is it just kind of like more like, okay, I don't know if we're going to be able to go beyond this and do more with it.
I mean, I'm very, very happy and content with what we did as a
Okay.
band, and I think that, I mean, it was kind of the perfect way. It was perfect. We set out to be a force of energy. We set out to inspire. We set out to like start a movement, basically.
Yeah.
That was my whole thing. I would go out every night and stick up They Have No Power stickers until like, late at night. Like it was all about starting a movement. And I think that hopefully something like that happened. I think that there is a lot of reverberation of the energy that we were like exploding with at the time.
Yeah, what do you actually think the like beyond just reverberations? What do you think Happy Children's legacy is / will be?
I think there's like a do-it-yourself mentality that is really prominent in the Happy Children message, and just and also just like being a person of love and not just like trying to be a really cool rock star.
Yeah, there's no like posturing kind of.
No,
Seems genuine.
yeah, I think it was always about lifting people up and just being a part of a community, and yeah, I mean, it's all about family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's what I said in the farewell note. It's all about family, and it's all
Mhm.
about your friends, and it's all about love in the end. It's not about anybody's success,
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think that
That's
that
a
was our thing.
solid. That's a good way to kind of justify an end. It seems not pretentious or anything. Seems like it came from like just a collective place of like we are self-aware enough and to know like that this is over, but we want to make sure our message like gets out there, like we have like a lasting statement to go with.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm not done being involved in the scene.
Well, no,
by any
yeah, of
means,
course
but
not. Just with Happy Children.
yeah, just the band.
Yeah. I didn't want to make it seem like you're just gonna like move to like Canada
no.
or something just out of nowhere.
Some people do think that, though. Some people are like, "Oh, it's done.
Oh, okay, Caleb's
Yeah.
moving and they're all leaving.
Have fun."
Yeah,
being
is
a
Mitchell
square."
doing anything else?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. Okay,
Yeah,
respect. Yeah, because obviously you're busy and Sam has a new band.
yeah. I still see him all the time, but
Yeah, because there's just you guys still pretty good friends.
oh yeah,
Okay,
love that dude,
Cool.
forever and always.
sick. These are the kind of questions I like to ask anyone that we talk to. It's just a fun little way of wrapping things up. Who is your dream like collaboration, or even in you specifically, artist to produce for?
Artist to produce for.
YouTube
and
Bird doesn't
collaborate.
count because that already happened.
Yeah, that was when my head first went to.
It doesn't have to be local. You could say like Shakira or like.
I'd
anything
love to
random.
work with Kevin Parker, Tim and Paula guy.
Mhm.
He's like one of my biggest inspirations.
Yeah.
Obviously, I just want to produce a pop record with a pop vocalist. I want to
Okay.
work on an Ariana record, dude.
Yeah.
Like that would be so fun and so sick. Like I don't know, yeah, it'd be cool to work on something like that.
Something completely sonically
Yeah.
kind of different from
I
what
want
you've
to
done.
do more hip hop stuff too. Like it would be
Okay.
cool to work with Tyler or something.
Okay.
But I mean that's
I mean,
that's
it's a dream,
dream.
and that's not a bad thing.
yeah.
Would you consider doing that with any like local guys or?
Yeah, hit me
girls?
up. I mean, I feel like anybody should, if they want to work together, send me an email or whatever
regardless
it
of
is.
genre, regardless.
Yeah, I
of
don't
sound.
care.
Yeah.
If I feel like it'll be a good fit, I'll pursue it.
Yeah, that's
With
interesting that you say
passion.
that. Yeah, because with pretty much the exception of Hippocampus and I guess Remo, almost all of the artists to blow up out of Minneapolis in the last like 4 years or so have been like hip hop. So it's like Lizzo,
Mm-hmm.
Dua Sala, all these like other artists.
Dem Atlas.
Dem Atlas, yeah, just kind of the whole Doom Tree. Obviously, Atmosphere has been going forever. They're legends. But that's interesting to hear you say that because a lot of like obviously we cover mostly like indie rock and kind of like pop and not haven't really branched out into hip hop when that's specifically so popular nationally and even coming out of the cities. So we hopefully you'll get hooked up with some like a rapper, some group.
Totally.
And do that. That's
I want to
sick.
work with Dizzy Faye too.
Yeah, I haven't listened to her new tape, but I think
Dude,
it's good.
the album artwork is so cool.
Oh,
The album artwork is like mind blowing to me. I
Okay.
was so impressed by that shit.
yeah, it's sick. And last question: what has been your favorite local release? And it can be recent or not. Maybe one recent, one not.
Local like Twin Cities.
Yeah, Twins, even Minnesota as a whole. Let's say that.
I mean, Double Negative.
Double A. Okay.
That's probably one of them. Local release like of all time too.
Yeah, sure. Just so you know, if you don't say Purple Rain, you have to leave. No.
Yeah, no. I honestly, I'd say Double Negative, man.
Double Negative.
I think Double Negative is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go listen to it right now. It's storming outside. It's rainy. It's cloudy.
This is actually perfect.
Yes,
that's
I'm gonna drive home and listen to Double Negative.
Do that. In like the kind of like underground scene, like kind of who like you've been working with, who the Happy Children have been playing with. What would your favorite release in that kind of? I guess it feels a little weird saying this, but like tier of bands.
Mm-hmm. I would probably. I really like Good Luck Finding Iris. Do you know Good Luck Finding Iris?
I don't think I've heard of them.
They're about to release an EP in a couple weeks. They're actually coming to my house in an hour to finish mixing it.
Oh shoot! That's sick.
Their last thing that they released was amazing, and what they're about to release is even better.
Okay.
So I think Good Luck Finding Iris is like amazing,
Okay.
and the singer Mike, she is like a talent that this city is really about to see.
Okay. Well, everyone, you heard it here first. Check out Good Luck Finding Iris.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Caleb.
No problem.
Thank you for stopping by and talking for probably like an hour.
Heck yeah, man.
Heck yeah.
Thanks.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. You can find us on all the socials at Ear Coffee. And if you happen to enjoy this podcast, please give a rate and review, as it helps us stand out against a sea of other podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.